Hi, this is Wayne of Wayne's Continuum again with another video. And I'm happy to say that this is the United States of America where Wayne's Continuum can exist and I can freely express my views and I don't have anybody censoring me, and I hope that that continues. What I want to talk about today is I want to talk about uh, energy, God, and the continuum. So let's review a little bit. Um, what I said previously is that everything is a waveform of energy, and when waveform energy uh, uh, forms below the frequency of light and the speed of light, they would call that our barrier, it becomes electromagnetic energy, which creates matter. And anything above that frequency is energy, electrical energy, not electromagnetic energy, which is spirit. And so, understanding this, we're going to talk about you and this, your life, and me and my life. So, let me first say that everything, as I said before to review, I said everything is created and formed on an axis, and that axis is the vertical axis, and that axis is energy. So that axis is what we know, at least in one of the dimensions of God. And even biblically, they say that, well, we're going to talk about this. They say that the energy realm we're talking about is the throne room of God, and the electromagnetic realm that we live in our bodies, is the footstool of God. So we can follow it even in the scriptures, what I'm saying. So what's important for me to convey to you is that this axis, this vertical axis, this core energy is in everything. It's in you. It's in everything. It's the creator of everything. It's God. And what about evolution, you might say? Well, first of all, in terms of evolution is true, but it's true in the electromagnetic field, right? In the horizontal field that we live in. And it's true to the degree that life forms do adapt to the electromagnetic field, and the electromagnetic field determines what kind of life forms you can have. So you have a life form and you have a dinosaur. Well, there was a different electromagnetic field at the time of the dinosaurs, which supported that kind of life and which created that kind of life, versus the electromagnetic field we're in now, with a whole different forum, if I want to call it, whatever you want to call forum, for forms of trees and animals, vegetation. It's all shifted because we're in a different electromagnetic field. But it's the vertical axis that creates the species or the life form in the beginning, whenever it creates that beginning. So it's that beginning. Now, DNA, we know from science that DNA contains the information for that life form to grow into what it is. But again, it's the vertical axis that actually creates that life form. And so, how does this apply to you? Well, for this channel and the way we approach it, how do we approach God? How do we approach the footstool of God? Well, the footstool of God we're going to talk about, right? That's our life. How do we meet life? For instance, this morning we got up. We like to do this. We like to eat around 2 o'clock. Now, your way of living will be different than ours. So it's not something you can copy. You have to find it in your own informational core. But we have to meet life. This is about meeting life. So we eat around 2. We'll have in the evening a 6 ounce, but limited to 6 ounces for the health of the body and brain of organic Merlot wine. And then, like this morning, we get up and I have a drink of water, and then we go for a 2 mile walk, a little over a 2 mile walk. So that way it gives time for the body and brain to further detox, to let go of the toxins that it's accumulated. Again, your style will be different. But our approach to God is that we meet God in our bodies. That's why I became a Rolfing structural practitioner in the first place, because I realized that spiritual disciplines that deny or leave the body are just not according to my path as a follower of Christ. Now, we'll talk more about that, but let me just say right here that inasmuch as I'm telling you that this vertical axis, this pure energy, which is God, which exists in everything, everything you look at, a bird, an animal, all of creation has this axis, was created and sustained in this axis. So you're looking at God in everybody and everything. But you're looking at God in the electromagnetic spectrum of your eyes. But this vertical spectrum is still there. In everything, in everybody, and you. And that's a mystery. And so, why I'm a follower of Christ, Jesus, or Yehoshua, he followed that axis. His mission was different than your mission, than my mission. And obviously, there's various understandings of that. The fact that he did, and we'll go into this, he followed that axis to the point where it resurrected his physical body and took it into the upper throne room. That's a mystery that we're all living in, and we can talk more about that. Obviously, it's not something that, well, it's something that you or I, you couldn't do any of this on your own anyway, that we're talking about. So, but that makes him to me a special teacher, and he's my teacher and my higher power. To get back to this higher power, this vertical axis that exists in you and in everything. First, if we understand its existence, if we see that everything's built around this axis, if we see that we have a core, it's a mystery, but we have one, then we meet it in our body. Since even if we weren't, but I guess since we're a follower of Christ, we recognize that there's great things that can happen to us, gifts that are given to us from this axis when we're true to it. And of course, we all miss the path of being true to it. And that's what we call sin, missing your life's journey, your life's purpose, missing your true self, because you're struggling, we all are, to find your way to your true essence, to your true self, which I'm saying is God himself, the vertical axis within you. So we have to be present physically to the axis. That's why we work on our bodies. We are aware of our posture, structural integration to help us, if we choose that method, to help us become more aligned to that vertical axis. And we're not naive enough to think that in terms of this, for our relationship to the vertical axis, we're not the movers of that. Just like in relationship to your unconscious mind, you're not the director of your unconscious mind. You're the receiver of your unconscious mind. So you're the receiver of the gifts of God. You're the receiver of this vertical axis. And you're the receiver of it in your body. Not leaving your body, not escaping your body. And you can expect, if you're given the gift, to actually go into the throne room, which we talked about is the level of waveforms beyond the speed of light in your body. Now, you might go out of your body, but in your body. So that's the perspective of Wayne's continuum, that in this continuum, We live in the electromagnetic spectrum, physical matter. We're physical beings. We have bodies. We're going to live and dwell in our bodies. But at the same time, we recognize that we are created on a vertical axis with a creative energy. And that energy is our core. That energy is God. Since it expands beyond ourselves, it expands to each other, it expands to the animals, the planet, it expands everywhere. It's God's creation. And so many things can come to us out of that vertical axis, which we then can create. And I think each one of us is a creative artist in some way. It doesn't matter if you're cleaning your driveway. If you get a job as a janitor, you can be a creative cleaner and organizer of that space that you're in. You can create a space that's loving that you're in. So there's no job that is not a creative aspect of God. Everything you do, because we are when we're into our true selves, we are creators of order and harmony and love. And so whatever we do, whatever our calling is, and even whatever job we have as a part of our calling, we are creative. So we are co-creators with God. We're co-creators in this electromagnetic realm of matter. And what we receive from God, we receive as gifts, not through our own efforts. So the more that you effort, the more that you tighten yourself with muscular tension in your body, the more that your ego creates an egoic tension in your body-mind, the farther away you'll be from the gifts of God. So we want to be present. We want to be physical. We want to be using all of our senses, 5 senses. And within that, the 5 senses have an inner sense. Every 5 senses. So there is an inner sense of the inner ear of listening, an inner sense of the outer eye of seeing, an inner sense of the touch of feeling, inner sense of smelling, inner sense of listening. What did I miss? Tasting, the nectar of God, the taste of God that can come into your body, the fruits of God that can taste. Maybe we'll be lucky enough to get the grapes that Jesus turned into wine and taste them in our inner taste sense. And it doesn't come through our efforts, it comes through our gifts. Now, in the electromagnetic field, in our body, yes, we develop our skills. The more skillful you can be as a janitor in cleaning, the more skillful you can be in organizing the room that you're cleaning, for instance. Then these are gifts that we develop as co-creators in the material realm. If you're an athlete, the more skillful you are in shooting the basket or catching a pass or seeing the field. I love the athletes that usually it takes them 5 or 6 years in the NFL to get the peripheral vision. They've had to play that long, where they can see. They've told me they can see the entire field and what's going on, almost at times in slow motion. And the development of that perception, like in a great running back like Adrian Peterson, well, that development then makes the difference of being able to see where he'll run, several frames ahead to get into the opening. So these gifts are developed in everything we do, the gifts of the electromagnetic spectrum and the use of our senses and the use of our brains to think, use of our bodies to feel, a feeling system to feel and touch, use of our bodies to touch. So we are co-creators, but the creator is within you, and you need not do anything but acknowledge the creator within you. And because of who we are, I really recommend everyone get a higher power, whatever you choose. I choose the Christ as my higher power, the God on my axis as my higher power. because certainly no human being is beyond them, is within themselves. It's much greater than we need it. We need everybody. We need everything. And lastly, let's close then with knowledge. I think there's so much confusion. Well, knowledge is relative, isn't it? Knowledge changes according to our ability to understand and think about what we're experiencing in the electromagnetic spectrum, and our knowledge will change when we go into different electromagnetic spectrums. Again, depending upon the degree of our instrumentation, where I've already created these magnificent instruments, and our ability to see things as they actually are, then we see that that knowledge isn't absolute. The speed of light isn't absolute. Everything that the scientific laws are not absolute. And our knowledge of them is always changing. And as the universe is so great, that obviously as we expand, knowledge will change. So we don't want to fall into the trap of the authoritarianism of science, which has become worse than the authoritarianism of religion. And want to humble ourselves as human beings before the divine creative presence within us. Again, if I can use the within, that's the mystery. So we'll change there, right? Because it's not, this axis is not in the four-dimensional planes, right? It's not up or down, forward or back, right or left. It's not in time, right? And yet there it is within you. There it is everywhere outside of you. There it is in a continuum, Wayne's continuum of an infinite, as far as we know, in our humble understanding, an infinite universe of so many dimensions, so many realms. So we want to humble ourselves with the use of knowledge, as with the use of everything. Okay, thank you. I hope this was helpful. We have a whole stream of things we can talk about, but it's very important to understand that we're not misleading you into confusing the difference between the waveforms below the threshold of light and frequency of light that create the electromagnetic spectrum that create our material world, and the waveforms beyond that frequency and speed of light. You're using that as a barrier in our understanding that create infinite other worlds called the heavens or heaven. And again, scripturally, you can look it up. I'm not going to give you the scripture here, and come to your own understanding. But it is in the scriptures. And when you access the throne room of God, you're accessing that realm of pure energy and the axis. And when you access the creation of God, you're accessing the realm below light, our world that we live in. And okay, I think that's enough for now. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.